Welcome back. Well, you're still watching the agenda. So later this afternoon, ministers are expected to brief the nation on the recent landing of the United Arab Emirates President, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, in South Africa. The visit has raised questions about the nature of the UAE's relationship with South Africa and the purpose of the visit. According to reports, Sheikh Khalifa's plane landed in Cape Town on Monday, the 19th of April. The African Transformation Movement has lodged a complaint with the public protector with regards to this story. The leader of the party, Mr. Vuyo Zungula, joins us now via Zoom. Mr. Zungula, good morning to you. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I think let's start off with the content of the complaint that you've lodged with the public protector.
Look, we've lodged a complaint with the public protector to investigate any possible abuse of power and if the proper protocols were followed when it comes to granting that airport, declaring that airport as an international port of entry, and the respective movement of the people in that plane to South Africa. You'll recall that we've got a problem of illegal immigration in our country. It is a very, very big problem. We also have a problem of money laundering. You'll recall that there was millions of US dollars that were found in the president's farm, which were not declared in Tambo. We've also got a problem whereby the people that were shot and killed in Soweto, some of the guns, they were traced that they were coming from a neighboring country. So we feel as the ATM that there needs to be transparency and there needs to be accountability to ensure that we don't have public officials that are abusing their power. You'll recall Mr. Mabuyan from the Eastern Cape in early April went to UAE, and hardly 30 days after he comes back and there's this hush-hush job to make sure that the runway is done and the airport is declared an international port of entry. So we are skeptical that there could be deals that he might have signed there on behalf of the province, and in return he has bent the laws of our country in order to appease the so-called investor. So we're very, very anxious as the ATM. That is why we want transparency and accountability.
Yeah, I think just a quick correction. I said Cape Town just as I introduced the discussion. In fact, the landing that we're talking about took place at a military base in Bulembu in the Eastern Cape. What do you think this says? And what's the real concern about what this says about the relationship between South Africa and the UAE? I mean, what's the worst case scenario here?
There's a lot that would happen. You could find that there's a problem whereby in our country, when we go to other countries as South Africans, particularly the leaders, they respect and abide by the laws of those countries, regardless whether we're going there as visitors or investors, but the laws of those countries are respected. But you find that in our country, we've got leaders who lead the undermining of our laws, the undermining of our sovereignty through such things. For example, look at the declaration of that airport as an international port of entry. The letter that we saw by Minister Motsoaledi is dated the 19th of April. And it states that that airport is declared as an international port of entry from the 12th of April up until the 12th of May. The second issue is that according to the Border Management Authority Act, a minister does have the authority, but he needs to issue a notice via the government gazette, and people must be given at least 30 days to comment on the possible declaration. And only after people have been given a chance to comment, then a place could be declared as an international port of entry. We've never seen a government gazette that states that that was followed. So we are very skeptical that laws might have been broken. We don't know what was carried in those planes. And lastly, when people go on holiday, they land in an airport, they enjoy their holiday, and the next time they see the airport is when they are leaving. However, people on the ground there in that community are telling us of heavy activity, high activity between that airport and the planes and the vehicles that were coming from UAE, and it boils down to what is that movement about? What is being transported in between where the holiday is and that particular airport?
Yeah. Okay. So you've talked about the ministers in the Gazette that we should have seen in your view, but in your letter, in your complaint to the public protector, you've also taken a swipe at Premier Mabuyan, and you've talked about that he seemingly put undue pressure on various parties to achieve his objectives of letting in foreigners without following due process. I mean, what is it that you want to see being done for accountability where the Premier is concerned?
Firstly, the premier to go to UAE would have had to get the approval of the president. So we want to understand, when he went to UAE, what were the reasons why he went to UAE when it comes to the official protocols of our country, and what deals might he have signed there? Because if you look at how this 20 million to refurbish an airport that was decommissioned in the 90s already clearly shows that there is something that is sinister, because there's no way a person would want to invest 20 million just to use it once, or to use it maybe when it comes once in a while when it comes on holiday. So what are the deals that Mr. Mabuyan, on behalf of the people of the Eastern Cape, might have gotten into in UAE? And what is the real benefit that is going to accrue to South Africans in the Eastern Cape as a result of those deals?
Okay, well, we're expecting a press briefing at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and it says government to brief media on details of the preparation that government undertook for the current private visit to the Eastern Cape by the President of the UAE and ruler of Abu Dhabi. What is it that you want to hear in that press briefing, and what do you think we will hear?
Look, there must be transparency. South Africans must not be taken for a ride. There must be transparency to say they, as the Eastern Cape government, are accounting that these were the people that came into that airport. This is what was transported. It was animals, it was furniture, it was so and so. And this is the real benefit that is going to accrue to the people of the Eastern Cape. On the side of Home Affairs, there needs to be a proper explanation. Where is the Gazette? Why is the Section 30.3 of the Border Management Authority Act not followed? People must be given confidence that their leaders are the ones that affirm our dignity, our sovereignty, by making sure that whoever comes to our country indeed does abide by the law. The Minister of Finance should have been there to explain this so-called 20 million that was received as a donation, to say it went via Treasury. These were the protocols that were followed to accept that money. And this is how the Eastern Cape actually followed the tendering processes to make sure that the refurbishment of the runway has been done lawfully and in line with our laws when it comes to the issues of finance. We want the Minister of Defense to actually state that when it comes to protecting our territorial integrity, this is what they've done, and this is the assurance they have that we don't have foreign soldiers in our country that are roaming around carrying heavy weapons and operating basically in our country.
All right. Well, I know that you'll be watching that briefing closely. We certainly will bring it to you live here on SABC News. So do stay tuned. That there, ATM leader Vuyo Zungula speaking to us.